Ezekiel Solesi is a prolific author, insightful speaker, and a serial entrepreneur, the CEO of Lim Simple, an organization whose acronym means Life, Investing, Money, and Business Made Simple. The company has a mission to provide simplified, technical, inspirational, and motivational information that would enable everyday people make deliberate improvements in their lives and businesses. His activities as a speaker and facilitator spans over a variety of industries. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome Mr. Ezekiel Solesi.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good morning, sorry, everyone. Thank you so much. I wanted to confirm that I can share my slides. Is that okay?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay, just give me a second. Thank you so much. I enjoyed some part of Pastor Godwin's session. And, he talked about, I think this is the wrong one. Oh, sorry, just give me a second. It talked about us using our talents, Okay, good. Thank you so much. And he made an analogy to football. So I know he's an Arsenal fan, so I quickly went to change to my jersey so that we can know that we're the only ones that have the best clubs in the world. The only one that is known as the best club in the world. But it looks as if the bondage on Arsenal is about to come down by the grace of God. So, and it should, because of all the men of God that are in charge. There are too many men of God that support Arsenal. So the 25-year of drought should stop in Jesus' name. Okay, so I want to talk today about the 4 job roles of a leader. And why is this important? It's important because I have just 30 minutes, so I'm timing myself. I'm actually timing myself to 24 minutes, 25 minutes. So I want to finish in 25 minutes, and then hopefully, if there are questions and and the likes. So the job 4 roles. Why is it important? You've developed your talent, discovered yourself, all of that stuff. Ultimately, to be able to really, really, really succeed, you're going to have to build something. And when you build that thing, for that thing to be massive, you're going to have to lead. And I'm looking at this from the business angle. So everybody who knows me knows that my bias is predominantly towards business. I've been fortunate enough to have worked with a number of businesses, over the last 15 years of my work, right? So to build a business that would scale and be sustainable, you have to be clear what your job entails. And most CEOs, most leaders know what to expect from their staff, but they're not really sure what's expected of them. And so the first thing that I want us to pay attention to, if you're here, and whether it's for your life, for your organization, for a group, and you're leading that group, your number 1 job is vision, right? Vision is essentially, where are we going, right? Where are we going? Where are you going as an individual? Where are we going as a group? Where are we going as a family? And unfortunately, this particular job is it can almost rarely be delegated. You can't really delegate it. You have to be able to see where you're going for yourself, right? And I recommend that you take, because what I found is that a lot of us know how to worry. We don't know how to think, right? We don't know how to think. So what's the difference? Worrying and thinking involves using your mind. But when you worry, you make, and they both involve making assumptions. The first, when you worry, you make an assumption that the worst things are going to happen. And so you ruminate on that. when you think, you make an assumption that the best things are going to happen. And so you ruminate on that. So I recommend, in fact, when I work with entrepreneurs, I always tell them 1 week in a month, just don't go to work, don't go to the office. And if you have to go to the office because you work, try and find one day. It's the reason why the Israelites had a Sabbath day, right? If you're very busy on Sunday because you're very engaged in church, find a particular time, find an hour, find a 5-minute period where you just spend time to think. So don't get too caught up in putting out fires, right? Don't get too caught up in trying to solve, all the little fires that come up that you don't have time to think, right? Very, very important. Now, the other thing I also recommend is that you invest in exposure. See, it was Albert Einstein that said, exposure is greater than education, and the reality is that you cannot want anything beyond your realm of exposure, right? And so let me give you one practical advice, something that has helped me, right? Personally. Every month, take a small amount, 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira, 15,000 naira, an amount that you can afford, not more than that, 5K, small 5K, 2K, 3K, and go to the best location in your city, at least once in a month. Sit down there by yourself, or don't carry somebody else so you don't get into trouble. By yourself, and buy only what that thing can buy you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Buy only what that money can buy you. Sorry, I'm trying to understand why. Okay, good. So this is the reason why. Why is my slide not moving? Sorry. So let me just reshare again. So like I said, buy only what that thing can buy you. Only what that thing can buy you. Not more than that. Why is that important? Because you see, the environment is very powerful. It transforms the way you think. Oh, hey, God. It transforms the way you think, massively transforms the way you think, right? It transforms the way you think. I used to do it, many years ago, small money, 1 million, 1,000, I said 1 million, 1,000, 1,005, I'll go to Sheraton, I'll sit down, I'll buy a drink, and I'll just watch. In better quality environment, right? Your mind is allowed to think. Just see how rich people move, see how they do it, see the things that my greatest progress has come from just being around people that are very successful. I have stories that I want to tell you, but I don't have a lot of time. But the reality is that, so let me tell you this one story. It wasn't a personal story, it was a research done by somebody in the industry. We wanted to prove the importance of environment. So we went to Oshodi and got some Agbero. Most of you here, you might not know Lagos, but in the old Oshodi, they were like Agbero touts. So he gets these touts, gets them blindfolded, and then, takes them through Bagada, comes through Maryland. And, because they're in the bus, they're shouting, he had left some of his staff in the other place because it was supposed to be a social experiment. He left them as collateral. So these Agbero guys were shouting, doing all this nonsense, saying, you're kidnapping us, just joking, very loud. He takes them through Sheraton, into Sheraton, of course, still blindfolded. They don't know where they were. They are cool. You brought us into a freezer, blah, blah, blah. Then he opens their blindfold and they cannot shout. The environment conditions their ability to shout. Environment is powerful. Put yourself in the right environment, it will increase the ability for you to have great vision. The second job that you have is culture. So what is culture? Simply how we do things around here, right? Your job, is to set the culture. And culture is determined by how people live by the vision, mission, and values of the organization. So you lead an organization, you work in an organization, what's the vision, mission, values? And so I always say that the purpose of an organization is character formation. It's not just money, right? That's why if you see people, and let's even take church, for example, like if you see people who attend a particular church, you see how they act. You can tell. So many of us can probably tell when we see somebody that is in Redeem, right? We can tell when we see somebody that is from HTH. We can tell when we see somebody that is from Daystar. We can tell when we see somebody that's from Deeper Life. We can tell when we see someone from MFM, right? Because the organization shapes character, right? The organization shapes their character. Very, very important. So why is it important? And I like to say this because in a lot of Christian driven organizations, what you find is you find two types of things, right? There are organizations in which there's a lot of love, but no accountability. So, this is where you see a lot of those ones up here, right? I think I messed this thing up. Okay, good. So this is where you see a lot of them up here in the blue one. And it feels like family, but no real accountability. But you see some other organizations, it's very hostile, yet no accountability. But you then see some is no love, all accountability, right? They call that toxic environment, right? But what you want to, the kind of cultivate is one in which we love each other, perhaps as family, but we're also accountable. I tell people that the best organizations treat themselves as a high performance sports team. We love each other. We think we respect each other, but we understand that the basis of our being together is in our ability to perform. So we do not compromise our ability to perform, and we do not let ourselves, lose guard on our joint ability to perform, right? So as an organization, as a leader, you must be able to love people as much as you are holding them accountable, and you must be able to hold them accountable as much as you love them. Or else, what will happen is that you will end up with an organization that doesn't really work. So the right balance is to create a workplace where people love what they do, whom they work with, and are kept accountable, to doing the right thing, right? It's very important, especially in faith-driven organizations, because in faith-driven organizations, accountability is almost seen as wrong in some way. I don't know anybody. Is there anybody there who it's seen as judging? Thank you, Chiamaka. And somebody holds you accountable, it feels like they're judging you. No, they're not judging you. We're all here because we need to perform, right? And we have to hold ourselves accountable. But at the same time, we have to love ourselves, right? So that's what we need to find. You need to love somebody. You need to love Peter enough, but you need to be able to say, "Get thee behind me, Satan," if Peter is talking like Satan, right? So the third is key hires, right? As leaders, we have the responsibility to hire people. But this is the best thing that I want to say, because the real problem really is the question I ask myself, and I ask myself these questions all the time, and I ask my people this question all the time, and the leaders that I work with, I say, look, if God sends you the perfect staff, sorry, if God sends you the perfect staff, what would the person look like? What would the person's job role be? Because some of us, we know what we want somebody, but we haven't detailed what they will be doing. And then next, how would I keep such a staff? Meaning that if somebody sends me a great staff, one of the things that might come with them is that they might be ambitious. You see, because you need ambitious staff. It's only ambitious people that can help your life. Because the person that just wants to do the bare minimum, you can't build a system on such a person. The problem with ambitious people is that they want what you want. So as an organization, as a leader, you must build a system that can provide the opportunity for them to be able to access in time, maybe not immediately, in time, access the quality of life that you have in time. Meaning that there has to be a way for them to see where they are going. Because if they don't, they'll leave, or they will slip down to not being A players anymore, to being B players or C players, right? So you have to really, really pay attention to the people God sending to you, to the seed, to the system, right, that you're building, to be able to keep such people, right? And it's not just, and here's the thing. It's not just important for the people who work with you to align with your vision. It's perhaps more important that the opportunities inside your organization aligns with their vision too. Because sometimes as businesses, we demand that people align themselves with us. No, we also need to be aligned with them, right? Jesus Christ did this, and they asked him, after he had the thing with the rich man, he said, look, to anybody who leaves anything to follow me in this world, he will get, all of these things. Yeah, he will get tribulation too. But he will also get all these things that we're talking about. Right? Jesus Christ didn't call his people to a life of poverty. Right? He said, look, the things that you want, you will get, but you'll get more. Right? So it's very, very important that we align ourselves, that we provide opportunity that aligns with their dreams and not just them aligning. So you must develop your model of finding, attracting, and keeping top hires. You have to be able to find top hires. You have to be able to attract them. You have to be able to keep them. And like I said, keeping is significantly hard. I met a lady in Mr. Kola Additional's office. Kola Additional runs Sahara Power Group, over $1 trillion company in 28 countries. And I met a lady in his office. She'd worked with him for 24 years. He said this lady has been in every department apart from finance. And I was talking to the lady as we went into the elevator. I'm like, how do you stay in a place for 24 years? She said, because at every point in time, the opportunity inside the organization was bigger than any opportunity that was outside. So notice, her answer to me was not one of loyalty, right? It wasn't loyalty. It was one of opportunity. Because as leaders, it's easy for us to demand loyalty. You have to be loyal to the brand. No. The opportunity inside the organization at any point in time must be bigger than the opportunity that is outside. If it is not, work you, right? Because loyalty is good, but beyond loyalty, let's make sure that the opportunity is attractive. And lastly, is sales and marketing. Don't worry, I'm still on time. I have 9 minutes. So whatever reason you started your business, if you don't sell, you won't be in business for long. Right? You won't be. Exactly. Loyalty is good, but opportunity is important. Exactly. Good. So whatever reason, you have to learn how to sell. So as a leader, you have to learn how to sell. And it's not just selling your product or service. We're talking about selling your dreams, selling. So, and this is what I believe, right? For a business to start, the entrepreneur, in this case, leader, must sell constantly. For a business to grow, the entrepreneur and the team, the employees, must sell consistently. For a business to scale, the entrepreneur, employees, and customers must sell consistently. So take all the big businesses we have in the world, from iPhones to Samsungs. Have you noticed that the people who make you buy an iPhone or make you buy a Samsung is Samsung users, iPhone users themselves, right? We've all started selling, right? That's why a company scales. A company scales when everybody sells, including the employee, including the staff. But the entrepreneur's second name is salesperson. And you never outgrow selling, you just upgrade what you sell. So let's take, let me use HTH as a case study, right? At the beginning, Pastor Godwin started it in 2010. It was him, right? Selling to the first set of team, right? is selling, selling the idea of joining the church. Now, while he still does that, he does that on a completely different level, right? He gets to do that globally now. We now have, evangelism team. We have all the pastors like Pastor Benga, Pastor Peter, who do a lot of, but it doesn't change the fact that Pastor Godwin is still a salesperson selling this vision to all of us, right? He's still a salesperson. Nobody outgrows selling. We just upgrade what it is that we sell, right? So anything that you're doing that is taking you away from these 4 things, you need to work out. You need to work yourself out of by creating a deliberate delegation plan. And so I'm going to end with this delegation plan. So I see your job is vision, culture, key hires, and marketing, sales marketing, right? Now, anything outside of that, you should, so anything that you're doing as a leader, personally, you're involved in. In fact, I had this session with some of our mastermind members, all of which were already doing over $1 billion a year. And one of the things that we're telling them is that, look, write down all the things you do. And I do this every time. Every 6 months, I will write down all the things I do in the company, every single thing. And I will take the things that I'm not supposed to be doing, and then I would write the name of the person in my organization who will be doing it. And then I have a meeting with that person. And in 6 months' time, that person has to be doing that thing, right? So, but how do you delegate? The reason why delegating is hard is because a lot of us don't know how to delegate. It's not everybody you employ that you can delegate to directly. So there are different behaviors. There's directed behaviors, there's supported behavior, there's directing, coaching, supporting, and delegating. So let me just share this and we'll close. When you hire somebody who has low motivation and low competence, the person studied Yoruba, but the person is now a business analyst or a teacher in your school, and he doesn't want to do teaching, he's hoping for oil and gas. So he has low competence, he has low motivation. You don't delegate to that person, you direct that person. What is directing? What is directive behavior? Directive behavior is there is a task, there are 4 levels to the task, break it down to the 4 levels, give them the small part, let them come back and tell you. Then you give them the second part, then they'll come back and tell you. You give them the third part, they'll come back and tell you. You give them the 4th part, they'll come back and tell you. That's directing behavior. Not that you not give them and go and sleep and they not come back on the day and say, you have not done anything. They cannot do it by the grace of God, right? The second is low competence, high motivation. So this person wants to work for you, wants to do the job, but doesn't have the skill to do it. What do? You coach. That person needs an impartation of skills. And in the coaching model, there are, the 5-step, grow model, which is I do, you watch, right? We do, you do, I watch, and then you do. So you have to, and of course, it's easy to describe, but this process might take months, to be able to execute, or even years, depending on the complexity of what needs to be done, right? The third is the person has high competence, low motivation, meaning that this person is very qualified, but he came to take your job because your job is available. You support that person. Or the person, is going through a rough patch, hard time in their life at the moment. It's a supportive behavior, right? So that means that it's not when a top person in the organization behaves in a way or misses a step or do something, it's not every time that you will scold them the way you scold everybody else. Sometimes you just have to understand, be empathetic. And only if the person has high motivation and high competence do you delegate. See those people, when you delegate, you go to sleep, they will die before the thing is not done. All right? So that's what you want. I hope that has been very good. I finished every minute. I want to thank you. I have 2 more minutes to go, meaning I have 7 more minutes. So can I take questions with those 7 minutes that I have?
Yes, please.
Any question? Thank you very much. So I have 7 minutes. So let me set my timer to 6 minutes. So that once it's 6 minutes, I don't know if people can unmute themselves.
So what they can do once they lift their hands up, we can just give them.
Okay, great. Or ask or type your question.
Or type.
I would read it. I have 5 minutes 44 seconds. Because I know that there's a lot that we're going to do today. So I don't want to take anything more than the time that's, if you overuse your time, they're not going to invite you next time.
Okay. Right? I can see some hands up. Ram. Okay, so there's Ram and there's Ziomi. It would have been nice if you rename yourself, so I'm not sure Ram is your name. Anyways, so go ahead, Ram. Just unmute. Okay, Ram, you can unmute now.
Yeah, who's asking?
You have 30 seconds. Go ahead, ask your question.
Okay, somebody typed a question. How do you restructure when you discover you've missed the fundamental being taught here? And then you start from today now. You start from today and you start correcting it little by little, right? I'm not going to ask you to go and shut down your business. So the first thing is to realize that no matter what you are learning, everything in your business has not spoiled. Because if your business is still alive, it's not everything that's bad. But just start and then you ask yourself, what are the things that I can do now? Maybe I can start to reiterate what the vision mission is in the organization. So you start doing that. Just start, take the classes. By the way, I would send the slides so that you can have it. You can have access to it. You can review it over and over again. So somebody says, how can a leader help a team member that has lost motivation? It used to be a high performance. So usually I would sit down with the team member and find out why. Motivation don't just leave. Sometimes there are reasons why. And sometimes it's because there's not a lot of growth opportunity in the business, right? So the person has worked themselves into a routine and they don't even know why. But it's really, if you meet them and they don't know why, because there's no opportunity in the system. So grow bigger so that you can give them bigger opportunities. How does an organization help with a culture that is opposed to change? I cannot answer this question directly because it's a very tricky question, right? So why is it tricky? The first is I want to know who's asking. Are you the CEO of the organization? Because sometimes, the person is here now. The Oga is in this meeting. So you now ask the question because he's not using me to now. In Jesus' name, so this is the kind of question we ask in person and we ask. So please, because I've been in meeting like that, I don't want you using me to ask this Oga question. Someone said, what if you are willing to change things and you are really trying your best and the leadership doesn't want to change and things are now low? Oga is there. And which are now saying, if they don't want to change things, it means the organization is useless. One of my team members now sent me direct message and said, your guy is here, useless, yo. And I said, surely maybe it is you. What's the way of prospecting high ticket products? That one is another class. That one is another class, a very, very long class. How do you balance my vision with the opportunity that I find myself in? It depends. What do you mean by your vision? Are you the one that leads your organization? If you're not the one that leads the organization, your job is vision alignment. So that means you should have your vision and see how it aligns with the organization vision, and if it doesn't align, depending on what God is asking you to do, because again, we're Christians, we need to know that. Sometimes you shouldn't quit being the shepherd because it's an important step to being the king of Israel, right? So you know, say my vision is to be the king and just taking care of goats. And the goats can't even talk back. And they didn't even give me plenty goats, only 3 goats. This small 3 goats now, lion wanna chop them, everything wanna chop them. you better stay with the goats, because it's when you are trying to save those goats that you save lion, you save bear. You kill lion, you kill bear. That lion and bear is what will help you kill Goliath. And even after you kill Goliath, sure, you know that it's not direct promotion. David killed Goliath, and I think he became king about 15 years or 13 years after he killed Goliath.
Yeah, 13 years, I think. Yeah.
So somebody you now, small Goliath you have killed now. Yeah, you now set your own ring lights. You want to come and tell us principle. You're not the organization is averse to change. You may need to change jobs. Well, again, I'm not so, and maybe this is the last question I'll answer. So the organization is adverse to change. Do you need to change jobs? I think the simple answer is yes, but it's not that simple all the time, which is why I said we are Christians. So, and that's a very important thing, because remember, so let's take the life of David, for example. David is a shepherd boy. Then he goes and kills Goliath. Then he's sent back into the shepherding that he's shepherding. Then he gets a part-time job as a musician. And at some point he's back into the shepherding that he's shepherding. Now, in the musician work that he was doing, he was playing for a song, a guy that was mad, that almost killed him. Sometimes working in a toxic environment might be the will of God, because it's teaching you in a toxic environment. There's no wasted knowledge. Working for a boss that is very might be what you need for now. Partners in the future that is not correct, right? So is because I'm always very, and you see that small gap is where the Holy Spirit is Lord, right? Because you see, it's like when you're driving, right? When you're driving, and so I'm in Okwebi now, and let's say I'm going to Ikoyi, for example. There are 5 different routes, I think, that I can use to get to Ikoyi. I can leave here, I can get out of my estate, hit Mobolaji Bank Anthony, turn in, get to Maryland and go, right? I could do that from Okwebi. I could go all the way to Tony to do that. I could go through Oregon, get into motorways by Daystar and do that. There's a lot of ways I could do that. But you see, Google Map would direct you, and you could look at the fastest way. And that's very important, because the shortest way might be a particular path. If I don't check the map, I'll enter there, but they have blocked the road because there's a traffic jam there. That's why the Holy Spirit is important for us, because the shortest way to your future is not necessarily the fastest way to your future. Do you understand? Because see that short way that you want to pass, trailer would have blocked that way. You enter that road, 12 hours, you are there. But if you open your Google Map, Google Map will tell you, this road is blocked, this one is okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why even till today, even when I know where I'm going, like from my house to my office is 15 minutes, I know where I'm going, I will still on Google Map. You know why? Because it teaches me, so somebody asked me, I did a training for an organization, and they asked me, and it was a Christian organization, it was a church workforce, and they asked me, how do you stay fresh? How do you, stay, with God's direction? I said 2 things. These are 2 practical things that I do. Number 1, I said, pick a playlist of worship songs or songs that you like, and lock yourself to those worship songs and listen to those exact same songs for the next 1 year. Don't change it. I said, why? I said, because you need to develop the ability to appreciate something that you have learned, that you have heard hundreds of times. Many of us will get too used to anointing, we'll get too used to God, get too used to. I said, the second thing I do is that I use Google Map everywhere I'm going. I said, why? I said, because I need to remind myself every time that even though I know where I'm going, The fact that I know where I'm going is not proof that I don't need direction. I know where I'm going, but I still need direction because there are things happening on that road that I might not know. It might be the shortest way that I know, but it might not be the best way that I know for that particular period of time. So thank you very much. I want to say thank you. I trust that this has helped us. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity, Pastor Godwin. I hope this has been a good session for us. Thank you so much.